Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Test, test. 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 Test.
You guys ready? Yep. Make sure to talk into your microphones tonight. You guys ready? Okay. We'll call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, October 6th, 2025. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Amanda.
Mark Bittner,
Here.
Bill Leclerc,
Here.
Doug Brandt,
Here.
Tim Petrie,
Here.
Bonnie Shimalunas,
Here.
Scott Steckmesser,
Here.
Adam Mahusky,
Here.
Darla Leclerc, Shannon Derby.
She's excused. She's recovering from surgery. Okay, now we can skip over number 4 because we are all here tonight. And Shannon is not available. On to number 5, introduction of invited guests. On the first one, we have members of the Rotary Club of Two Rivers, including Speaker Betty Bittner and Honoree Jim Lester. There.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm very honored to honor one of our Rotarians. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Two Rivers, and Jim Lester has been a member of our club for 60 years. Our club has been in Two Rivers for 102, and Jim has been a great part of many of the great things that we have done. So I would like to read this proclamation. Honoring Jim Lester for 60 years of service as an active member of the Rotary Club of Two Rivers. Whereas Jim Lester joined Two Rivers Rotary Club, an international service club that has served Two Rivers for 102 years, on October 1st, 1965. And whereas Jim Lester's continued service and philanthropy of Rotary and many Manitowoc County organizations providing services to individuals and families in need. And whereas Jim Lester contributed many hours in Rotary, working on service projects such as a Habitat for Humanity home, painting pathways, the Ivy Tunnel at the Vanderboro Arboretum, the fireplace addition at Woodland Dunes, and many other projects, too many to list. And whereas Jim Lester served as president of our Rotary Club of Two Rivers in 1985 to 1986, and was head of its Rotary International Foundation Committee, and is currently active and serving on the local Rotary Club Foundation Committee. And whereas Jim Lester is a Paul Harris Fellow, the highest honor a Rotarian can achieve, and because of his continuous donations to Rotary International Foundation through the Two Rivers Club, we have been able to receive funds to complete multiple projects in Two Rivers, such as purchasing recycling containers for the parks and path, the butterfly garden at Woodland Dunes, Two Rivers Water Trail, Hamilton Wood Type Museum, ADA accessible workstations, the STEM table at Lester Public Library, and the list again goes on and on. And whereas Jim Lester became president of Eggers Industries in 1971, where he developed a comprehensive employee profit sharing program that received national praise and continued the success of Eggers Industry until his retirement in 1999. And whereas Jim Lester achievements included creating the Eggers Way, ensuring future generations would understand the values and attitudes that made Eggers Industries successful for many years. And whereas Jim Lester was head of and instrumental in the design, fundraising, and overall construction of the Grace Congregational Church. And whereas in 1985, Jim and his wife Barbie made possible the construction of Lester Public Library, named in honor of his parents. They continue to be a strong supporter of the library and support the beautiful gardens around it. And whereas Jim Lester has served on countless boards in Manitowoc County, offering his strong leadership qualities. And whereas Jim Lester has a passion for sailing and loves sharing it with others. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Two Rivers congratulates Jim Lester on his 60th anniversary as a Rotary Club of Two Rivers Rotarian.
I want to thank the City Council for recognizing all of the contributions that the Rotary Club and the members and all the things they've done for the community over the many, many decades. I want to thank all the Rotarians that came tonight. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
We do have one piece of business to do with that. We just need a motion to approve the proclamation.
I will make a motion to approve the proclamation honoring Jim Lester on 60 years of service as an active member of the Rotary Club of Two Rivers.
Thank you. And second by Bill. Any council discussion? Seeing none, we will do a voice vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. And congratulations again. Let's see, on to B, Two Rivers Public Schools Superintendent Diane Johnson and the Two Rivers Buses Office Manager Chris Aschenbrenner.
It's hard to definitely follow that proclamation, so congratulations to Jim. Good evening, City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, even though the school buses are not owned by the district, but rather by Two Rivers Buses Incorporated. I'm here to urge the City Council to adopt a simple but important ordinance, requiring all school buses in our city to activate both their blinking lights and the stop arm whenever a student is entering or exiting the bus. Right now, buses may use blinking lights to signal a stop. Blinking lights are sometimes misunderstood and overlooked by drivers, especially during busy before and after school times or in low visibility conditions. The stop arm, however, is an unmistakable signal. When that arm swings out, drivers recognize that they must come to a full stop. Buses already have this feature, so it's a no-cost option to protect children getting on and off the bus, whether or not students are crossing the street. On average, in Wisconsin reports about 600 crashes a year involving school buses, and an average of about 1 child fatality every year in pedestrian accidents associated with boarding or departing a bus. That's way too many. This ordinance is a proactive, responsible step. It improves safety and protects our children. Thank you for your consideration.
Hi, I'm Chris Aschenbrenner. I'm the office manager of Two Rivers Buses. I've worked there for 21 years, and we have never had any other ordinance except for this. And I don't think our citizens are going to be too aware of this change, so I would really like to push this through the city to keep our kids safe and also have the support of Two Rivers so that we can keep our kiddos safe. So we are in full agreement with it.
Diane, Chris, thank you so much for coming out tonight and saying a few words.
And just for the council, that is 11B on our agenda tonight, so everyone's aware. On to number 6, which we can skip over because we do not have a public hearing tonight, and then input from the public.
Actually, before we move on, if I could take this opportunity just to kind of chime in and clarify a couple items on the agenda. There's 2 items that are on the agenda that are distinct and separate from each other, and they are not linked together. I think there is some confusion that these items are linked. Agenda item 11E is a contract to Heman Construction for remodeling of the Neshota Park restrooms over near the Horseshoe Courts, not the beach building. This building was built in 1975, and renovations for this bathroom are already included in the 2025 budget. Funds for this project are in Fund 454 in the 2025 budget. Agenda item 11G is different, as simply formalizing the city council direction that was reached at the previous council work session last Monday night, directing staff to start heading down that path. This was option 2 of the 3 options that were discussed with the community last Monday night at the beach. Voting on item 11G tonight does not finalize anything about the Neshota Park Concession Pavilion, but it does direct staff to continue working on estimates and renovation details, assemble a complete funding package that includes city spending combined with grant funding and community contributions. We won't know for certain how much renovations to Neshota Pavilion will cost until after we put together this complete funding package throughout the winter. We let the project out for competitive bidding sometime next year, probably in February or March. After that, this project will return to a city council agenda for final action once all the details are vetted out and we know exactly project funding and actual costs. So there are 2 distinct items on the agenda tonight. I did receive a lot of questions over the weekend and today that I wanted to kind of get in front of and shed some light on. Some are good questions and some are rumors that come from the internet. So allow me to just go through a few of the questions I received today. When was this topic of renovating the beach pavilion first brought up to council? The answer is since at least early 2023. The city council adopted a Neshota Park master plan in May 2023, which included goals to update the building. Since then, this topic has appeared on the public meeting agendas for the advisory rec board several times. In August of 2025, when I was a brand new city manager, just started, one concept rendering was presented to visually show what a future building could look like if council wanted to totally rebuild. Since then, we've had 2 months of community conversation, lots of feedback on this topic. Another question, why are we doing this now? Is there an operational mandate that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later? The answer is yes. The health department has notified the city that it has ignored this building for too long, and there's several code violations that could result in the building, concessions building being shut down permanently by the health department if the city does not take steps to invest in the building. So that is why now. Is there any truth to public land around the beach reverting back to the Zlatnik family, if the building is renovated? No, that is not a real thing. Is there any truth to the rumor that local businesses in Two Rivers have already received agreements to run a private sector restaurant there? No, that is not a real thing. There has been 0 discussions or agreements on this. There has not even been a request for proposals for such a thing drafted. Although, if the council decides to update the kitchen, this could open the possibility in the future of the private sector, a local restaurant, submitting proposals for how they could run the concession stand in the future. This would all be vetted in public with a request for proposals publicly posted online for any restaurant to participate in. Lastly, somebody asked me, why is the city of Two Rivers in so much debt? The answer is it isn't. The city has a low overall debt level and a very aggressive repayment schedule. Here's some context. 10 years ago, 85% of our general obligation debt, 85% of it was set to be repaid within a decade. Today, we can report that 98% of our general obligation debt is set to be repaid within a decade. That's an outstanding financial accomplishment. If you want another example of the city council acting in a financially prudent way, a number of years ago, the city council adopted a self-imposed debt limit that is much stricter and lower than the state limit. The self-imposed debt limit is 60% of the state limit. And right now, Two Rivers is only at 38% of that legal limit, so way under it. And this is likely to decrease even further by the end of this year to 33% of the legal limit by the end of this year. So that were some of the questions I received, and I hope that shed some light on them.
Thank you, Kyle. So then on to input from the public. If you wish to address the council about something that is on this agenda or perhaps a future agenda item, please step up to the podium on your left and state your name and address for the record. Please be aware that you will have 3 minutes to address the council so we can get through all the people that wish to speak tonight. The council may ask questions of you about the topic, but cannot discuss issues raised or make any decisions since the topic may not be on the posted agenda, unless, of course, it is about the concession stand, which is on our agenda later tonight. Other issues related may be referred to the city council or city staff for research and possible further action. With that, input from the public.
My name is Pamela Stevens. I'm at 3411 Parkway Boulevard, Two Rivers. I am not talking on this subject. I am actually bringing up a different subject, which is that we have a National Wreaths Across America Day, which will be on December 13th of this year at 10 o'clock. And I am showing this flyer because all through the city, there is a QR code and an email. And if you have veterans in our cemeteries or wish to sponsor a wreath on this particular day, it's $17 for a wreath, and want to make it known within the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Barner. I reside at 2334 39th Street, Two Rivers. And with the beach, I am for the most fiscally responsible choice for the residents of Two Rivers. A tax increase is the last vast majority of us could fathom. And I would like to know if the city is going to run it, maintain it, or if that's something that you just have not talked about yet. And will they staff it? If not, who will be renting it? Who will be responsible for the standard upkeep, such as the plowing, maintenance, ventilations, the water heater, and the parking? Where is there going to be any updates, demo? I would hope that they don't compromise additional green space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. I am Corey Toos at 116 McKinley Street. I'm here this evening to respectfully request the council delay any and all decisions regarding the beach house at Neshoto Beach. I fully support the necessary upgrades to meet health code requirements, the most basic and cost-effective option, but urge that no new construction move forward until the public has been properly informed and engaged. On August 25th, Mr. Mike Mathis informed the council that the current concession stand may have only 1 year remaining due to health code concerns. Yet at the same time, he had already expended public funds to have architectural plans for a new building prepared and presented without public transparency or prior discussion. This indicates the project was already in motion before residents were made aware. The first mention to the public came through the School City Connect newsletter on September 6th, containing only a single line survey. Please share your thoughts and ideas for the beach concession stand. It offered no background, no cost information, and no explanation of the options. As Councilwoman Bonnie noted, the survey was open worldwide, raising legitimate questions about who actually participated. Why was that not distributed directly to residents through utility bills to ensure that only taxpayers responded? Most residents did not even learn about this issue until early September. Concerned citizens then created the Save Our Page Facebook page and petition on September 10th. Within days, over 500 residents signed, despite limited outreach and without knowing that 3 options existed or that cost estimates for option 2 and 3 were already being developed. To date, those estimates have not been shared publicly by the city. At last week's work session, 2 council members were absent. Following that meeting, it was stated that a vote had been taken not to pursue a full teardown. If accurate, that would indicate a vote outside a formal meeting. If inaccurate, misinformation is being circulated. Either way, it erodes public trust. Only recently have residents been able to review the materials presented, and yet a vote is scheduled tonight, scarcely a week later. The public has not had adequate time to understand the information or provide input, so I must ask, why the rush?
This decision represents both a major financial commitment, nearly $500,000, and a lasting change to the character of our beach. The public deserves transparency and time to participate meaningfully in this process. I respectfully request that the council delay the vote, share all information on every option, and allow residents to become fully informed. Then revisit the issue with genuine community input so the final decision truly reflects the will and best interests of the taxpayers you represent. Thank you for your time.
My name is Rich Greenwood. I live on 1617 24th Street, and I'm interested in what's happening in our beach. I always have been. We all like nice new buildings and stuff, but it comes at quite a cost. And the beach has become quite a tourist attraction in the last few years. I walk the beach almost every day in summer. I know a lot of people. I know all of you, and I don't see many of people I know on our beach. And I talk to a lot of people, and most of them tell me they're from outside Manitowoc County. So I look and I say that if we're going to spend any sizable amounts of money, we really need to make sure all users of that beach are included in helping pay for it. I don't think we should saddle the taxpayers of Two Rivers. When we talked about a $2 million building, that would be $170 per person in Two Rivers. That's a good chunk of money. And we have a lot of other stuff that we need to spend on. That brings it back to the parking situation. There are many different ways we could recoup money in parking. And I think we're just starting to look at a lot of them. We've talked already with the city manager. They should be looked at. We need to start recouping some costs for down at the beach for maintenance and upkeep of the park. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann Dobberton, 2005 Garfield Street. I am here to talk about the beach parking issue. I walk at the beach all the time. I'm in the park all the time. I live right there. Sometimes I drive over and sit and enjoy the beach while I sip a tea and drink my tea and listen to an audiobook. I implore you to not implement a paid beach parking program. I think it's bad for the beach. It's unfriendly, it's unwelcoming, and it will be a deterrent to a lot of people that just want to pop in, spend an hour, walk the beach, get some steps in. They're gonna have to pay $10 to park. I mean, they won't come. And the young families, they're looking for a free adventure to take the kids for a few hours. They have to pay $10 to park. They won't come. It will be a deterrent. Why? Isn't there other places that we can look for a little bit of money to cover the excess of garbage in those 3 months that we get so many people? I mean, that's what it really boils down to, right? We're going to be cutting the grass anyway, regardless. We're going to be grooming the beach because we've always done that. It's just that excess. And how much actually is that? How much do we need to cover that excess? Do we really need to upset the whole beach atmosphere and put in this paid parking and deter people? And, I think we can look for maybe a few bucks to cover that excess elsewhere. I know the Airbnb business is huge and growing and big. And I know that all of those people pay a room tax, maybe a stipend from each of those room taxes, because that's why the people come to this town, because we have a beautiful beach. Why don't we let them support this extra excess? That's my thought.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good evening. Name is John Gomez, 2023 Garfield. I started coming here when there was the Copper Kettle and Evans. And coming, wow, small little town, beautiful, hasn't changed. It's one of the reasons I moved here. What we have here in Neshoda Park, it's like our Grand Canyon. It's you don't do nothing to it. This year is Neshoda Park is not for me. I already see it, but this is for the future for your grandkids. Once those trees are gone, they're gone. They'll say, oh, we'll plant trees, but those trees will take another 10 to 20 years to be fully grown. So that's not, if you make that park, that concession stand bigger, you're gonna have to cut down trees. So what I found out, the passenger pigeon used to roost at Point Beach thousands of years ago. It was the last one was probably last century. That was the last passenger pigeon was roosting here to fly west. So what we have here is a jewel. Like I said, we need not to touch it. This is for the future of the kids and future for this town. Well, anyway, 2023, we had a meeting at the senior center, a handful of citizens, and they had us place these little tags on paper, what we wanted in a park, because they were talking about putting parking in the tennis courts. So a handful of us decided, no, we finally picked on pickleball. We agreed upon that. So now we find out in September, we're getting pollinators, plants. We're surrounded by farms. So I don't get it. But anyway, it's my money, it's your money. What they plant, it's going to cost. So with that being said, let's leave the park alone, repair it, upcoat it. This is for the future. Us here, we see the park, but this is for your kids, your grandkids, your nephews, and so forth. That being said, let's make America great again.
Never mind. Thank you for that. Sorry, Mike was on
Sorry.
me. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just
I'm moving
thanking him for
back.
coming up. Go ahead.
Sorry. Good evening. I'm Susan Robitaille. We live at 2313 Jefferson Street. I've lived here in Two Rivers for 2 years, but before that, I was a tourist that fell in love with the city. That gives me a unique perspective because you often talk about what tourists want. Well, I was one. What drew me here wasn't fancy new buildings or trendy restaurants. It was the quiet charm, the natural beauty, and that old-fashioned concession stand at Nashotah Beach. There's something innocent and timeless about walking up to that window, buying a popsicle or an ice cream sandwich, and sitting in the sand to watch the waves. That simple, wholesome experience is what makes our beach special. Not banquet rooms, not restaurants or garage doors. Our beach is a park, a natural sanctuary, not a commercial zone. Just 1 week ago, the public first learned that the city was considering 2 restoration options for the concession stand. One costing about $43,000 and another close to $500,000. And while you're not officially voting on the $500,000 plan tonight, it's clear that the council intends to keep moving in that direction while dismissing the $43,000 option out of hand. That's not transparency. That's a pre-planned outcome being presented as exploration. This whole process has been rushed. 2 council members weren't even present for the work session where those numbers were introduced. The rest of us are only learning about it now, with no real time to weigh in. We're told this might, maybe, possibly bring in $40,000 a year in revenue, but that's purely speculation. That number has as much legitimacy as me blowing out candles on my birthday cake and wishing for it. We're talking about imaginary revenue from an imaginary tenant for a project that doesn't even exist yet. What we're really building here isn't a concession stand. It's a city-run hospitality industry where taxpayers fund kitchens for private enterprises. And we haven't even been told what the lease rates would be, or if any local business could afford it. We're throwing public money into wishful business venture with no business plan. The irony is that even as it stands now, if we simply bring the concession stand up to code, it could easily be leased out to someone who wants to run it. A basic setup with microwaves can handle plenty of simple beach foods, hot dogs, brats, pizza, chicken nuggets, maybe even a juice bar. None of these ideas have been explored, and they would eliminate any need for costly commercial kitchen or a ventilation hood. Meanwhile, we have everything we need. We have restaurants just blocks away, and we have underused banquet spaces at the Community House, Sepia Chapel, and the Lighthouse Inn. And we have the infrastructure to host special events, our parking lots. Those spaces could easily welcome food trucks, small markets, or pop-up vendors at no cost to taxpayers. We don't need to build a single thing to make this happen. I have heard this justified in the name of tourism. But as someone who moved here because of what Two Rivers already was, I can tell you this isn't what tourists are coming for. They come for the beauty, the serenity, the authenticity. You're not enhancing that by paving over it. $43,000 is still a lot of money. A homeowner could remodel an entire kitchen for that. $500,000 could buy a whole house. The residents, the people who pay those taxes, deserve a vote. Please slow down. Do the minimal repairs to make the stand safe and functional. Protect the character of our beach. Protect our tax dollars. And remember, this park belongs to the residents of Two Rivers, not to speculative business plans or imagined profits. We don't need to reinvent who we are to prove our worth. Two Rivers doesn't need showmanship. It needs stewardship. Please do the right thing.
Thank you.
My name is Dorothy Tinkham-DeLoe, and I am osteoporotic, -5.1. And when I moved here, I was pretty all right. And then I got run down by a bicycle on the S path up at the beach. And I had a shoulder cuff injury. And because I'm osteoporotic, that's 6 weeks on a pillow because I can't have the operation. And I have a lacerated tendon, and I have a thumb that has nerve damage. And I had PT and PT and OT and PT and OT and OT and more OT. And I went to the city and I said, you've got to get the bicycles off that path because they hit you. And this was a racing bike. And my daughter is a sports doctor. And those things are going 13 to 16 miles an hour. And he kept going. And a couple of elderly tourists picked me up. And I went down to the city hall and I talked to Greg Buckley, I talked to the legal, and I talked to Adam. And you know what they told me? They said, get over it. We ride our bikes by the beach. And I was angry. And this Saturday, last month, I was knocked down by an electric bike on the sidewalk about 2 houses from my house, and you cannot hear them coming. And this was a kid that everybody all summer had said, cut it out. No electric vehicles on the sidewalk. But he didn't care, and our ordinances are not observed. So I got knocked down again, but I had taken a class in falling. So I went down like a stone. I rolled up the way you're supposed to. I had blood all over me. A neighbor picked me up. They got us in the house. Officer Torres came. And the kid has never been back, of course, because he stepped on the gas and went off at 26 miles an hour. Well, I'm talking about safety. We have an S path at the beach, and that comes between the parking lot and the sand. And one of these days, someone's going to hit a child and you're going to kill them. And then maybe you'll do something about safety for those of us who live here. Now, I was on the Parks and Recreation Committee, and I saw some of the wackiest ideas. And one of the ideas was for like, I don't know, $1 million building with more bathrooms. We need more bathrooms, decent dressing rooms. We need dressing rooms, and a concession over here, and a 2-story building in the middle with a spiral staircase, which is not ADA compliant. And I couldn't get up there. How dare you? Plus, you're making a mess of the front of the building. You've got this piece in the middle that's going to prevent people to going, normal people to go. We do not need a 2-story building with a spiral staircase on our beach for rent. We need a concession stand for people who like to go up there. It would be nice if someone would be there at noontime, because so many people come up at noontime and sit and eat their sandwich and watch the lake. I moved here to walk with my dog. I can't walk there anymore because, well, I've got a silly dog from a mill who's afraid of everything. But still, I cannot walk there anymore because it's not safe. And that's not right. And I think it's about time our council started thinking about the safety of all of us, of the elderly who own homes and who pay taxes, of our children. Lord knows someone should be looking after our children. They certainly don't. I voted for the golf carts because my experience was golf carts with Dad DeLow. He had an electric golf cart and it didn't go very fast. And then there was one old man that used to go down 42nd Street, rising in and out of traffic until they finally caught him and put him on a flatbed and took it away. The new ones go like 30 miles an hour. I live in Ward 1. We have constant car traffic in the summer. We have constant foot traffic in the summer. We have constant parking in the summer. There are ordinances, but they're not enforced. And I think you need to do things for safety, and you need to stop doing things for money.
Thank you. Next.
Tracy Coach, 3411 Parkway Boulevard. 3 different items, one of which is a little late. It would have been public input last session at the work session, only you don't have public input on there. So I'm commenting on that. You had a section in there. It was a work session discussion item, revenue and beer sales. I am opposed to the city selling beer and alcoholic beverages at Neshota Beach and other municipal parks. It is more involved than just insurance. And quite honestly, your local civic groups and nonprofits use it as fundraiser. And I'd hate to see that source of revenue for something for anything go away. It's fun. 2, tonight's agenda, formal item for consideration to approve a Neshota Beach support paid parking pilot program for 2026. I don't know how I feel about having the parking, if you're going to do a parking pilot program, however you decide, make sure you also explore possibilities that local residents, the folks who actually live here, at a minimum get a discount. But on that, the part of your plan that I want to comment on, though, is the staffing plan and expenses. It talked about an item underneath there where it could be operated by community organizations, possibly. They could receive a percentage, in this case, you quoted 25% of revenue as a fundraiser. If you're gonna go that route, I would encourage that. I know you would definitely get I'm pretty confident you'd get volunteers from the American Legion Auxiliary Unit. We'll fight Rotary for a spot. Lastly, the one that everybody else is up here for, formal item G, consideration to proceed with what's proposed. Ooh, too much coffee today. I am opposed to this proposal as written. While I support the upgrade and expansion of the restrooms and changing areas, I do not support building a commercial grade kitchen in the concession area. When you open a restaurant, and I've done that, these items are the biggest part of your capital loan. If the city provides this at Neshota Beach, a restaurateur has no skin in the game. In addition, many of the visitors to our beach bring their own coolers and picnic baskets. If they do not, they can and have ordered food from the local restaurants and either pick up their orders or have it delivered, DoorDash. This provides revenue for our local restaurants and businesses, not competition. I would suggest for consideration that a dedicated parking space be created near the beach pavilion for a delivery vehicle or DoorDash, same thing, with a kiosk or something similar to showcase all the menus from Two Rivers businesses. I would volunteer to organize that portion of the project if you plan to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you'll be able to hear me, but Chris Eggert Rosenthal, 2816 35th Street. I'm not going to repeat some of the things I had planned to say because others have said it very well, but I am definitely not in favor of commercialization of the Neshota Beach area. I moved here not actually willingly, and I stayed because of the beach and the many amenities that it offers. It's a place where I go for peace. But I don't know about the rest of you, but I've lived in a number of states and places where waterfront and beachfronts were commercialized. And what happens is the residents no longer have any access to it. This is such a unique place. I took photos this summer and sent them to places. You see children coming up to the concession stand and holding their little hands up with their dollar bills. And that's like a picture of old, that people like that to bring their children there. I went to a place where I used to live in Florida and it's so commercialized, I had to pay $15 to park. There weren't any places to really get on the beach, and sandwiches were $15, and that was a cheap one. It was like a cheese sandwich or something. I don't think that we need to commercialize this. This is a nice little town. We have lots of businesses that can enfold themselves into providing great food for tourists. We have a lot of other opportunities. But having seen what happens other places, I just think that you need to reconsider all of the options. I mean, I don't see this as being something that will bring in enough money to cover the cost at all. But I think people said a lot of things, but this is an important thing to me because it's the place that I go for my peace of mind. And please think about how we will all be using that space.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Catherine Dahlke, 3727 Adams Street, and I appreciate the opportunity to stand before council. I'd like the council to reflect on how often they see a room this packed with constituents raising their voices with a concern. I think the last time I saw it was the great debate of the golf carts versus the ATVs of 2023 or so on and so forth. Words matter. Words matter. And I want the council to heed that because there are a lot of words and sentiments coming from the individuals who go to the voting booth and elect you to represent them. We've had a tough couple of years with tax increases, with the handout asking for support. And over that time, in my humble opinion, I feel like the opportunities for places and spaces for residents has continued to shrink. It's all about the almighty tourist dollar. So I did a little focus group of my own. I sat down, my grandkids are all teenagers and their friends who spend an awful lot of time at the beach. And they know they can hit grandma up for $10 and pretty much feed themselves at a concession stand for the afternoon. And they're fine with that. I said, what do you think about all of this? I said, well, they've got to fix that broken shower so we can clean off from the beach. Okay, thanks for the input. I said, what else? They said, it's so crowded, Grandma. Every single license plate we see in that parking lot is an Illinois license plate. No offense to anyone from Illinois. But where's the space for the people who live here? So take into consideration the voice of the people who have to pay for this. Perhaps you want to relook at your agenda item. And going back to Word's banner, when I looked at how the item was phrased, consideration to proceed with the 2026 Nashotah Beach Pavilion investments to upgrade bathroom and kitchen facilities in the amount not to exceed $450,000. I might suggest that when the council goes into discussion item for this, that perhaps one brave soul will put out there to rename or reconsider the scope of that project. That you take into consideration the words from the public, look at the option that was just bringing the facility up to code, and state that this is an exploration where you will bring the data back to the folks who have to pay the bill. That's all. Thank you.
Susan Ertman, 1810 Lincoln Street. I am a fourth generation person that lives here. And I grew up on that beach. I know everything about it. And I think you just need to do the upgrade to keep the facility working in order. And I think that that would be appropriate, but your parking situation is ridiculous. I'm sorry, that's my opinion. I live on Lincoln Street, and every time you have an event, my whole street is parked tight. You can barely back out of your driveway because 2 cars have already parked in front of your house. And then you'll find somebody else with a motorcycle that wants to park behind that car. I don't understand what you're thinking with the facility also, or paid parking. When you do your paid parking, that is just going to push all these people to park on our streets in front of our houses. And with every time you have an activity at the beach, your band's on the beach and all fireworks, I understand. I don't have an issue with that. But every time you have an activity, they're all parked away from there. And you did all of these upgrades on the park. Well, you only use it 3 months a year. And then at the end of the summer, you take down the rock wall, you take all that stuff, and you go throw it in the baseball field. Well, if you think about it, we only get to enjoy this space for 3 or 4 months a year. And we like to enjoy our space in our area. And what you're doing is you're taking everybody's quiet time or peace of mind time to build a monstrosity that is going to be open. From what I got out of the last meeting I went to, it's going to be open 24 hours. Well, why would you have things open 24 hours? Number one, we attract people here in the summertime because you have homeless people that are living on our beaches. They're living in the woods at nighttime. You will see them on their bicycles because they already have their sleeping bag and their stuff that they are using at night. And if you open up these facilities 24 hours a day, I suggest that you have a person there to monitor the whole situation or have cameras, because what they're going to do is they're going to stay there. Even though it is available 24 hours, they will be staying there because now you're going to put heating in and everything for these places. And it's just not right. We need to.
Ordinance 751, all parks close at 11. Ordinance.
Well, if you would keep it at the park time and have somebody there that opens it and closes it every night, you probably wouldn't have that situation happening. But now if you build something else where it's heated and everybody can stay there, well, I say good luck, because that thing is going to turn into a homeless shelter. And another thing is the vandalism. And then we're going to pay for all that to refix everything that you've created. But parking needs to be addressed, definitely. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Heather Ross, and I live at, now I'm nervous.
No worries. Take your time. No worries.
I live on the corner of Tannery and 34th Street, 2143 34th Street. There we go. Thank you. I really have appreciated the comments that have been made so far about the concession stand and Neshota Beach. And as has already been stated, Neshota Beach is a beautiful asset in our community. And it's not something that we make money from, it's something that we spend money on, and I recognize that. I also recognize as a citizen here that sometimes I drive there. I can walk, but sometimes I drive and I can't park there. So parking is an issue, and there are different things that could be done. City residents could have tags in their electric bill, perhaps, that go on their cars, and then other people, I don't know, pay for parking or something. But somebody brought really good points up about paid parking, and I happen to agree with her that paid parking will just drive people to other parts of town. So I recognize that that's a difficult issue. But our taxes went up, our property taxes went up 30%. That's really significant. And yeah, and there are a lot of reasons that that's a very big issue for our family and for a lot of other people who might be on fixed incomes, et cetera. But yet we built a new park downtown with some fun things, a splash pad, which I see gets used. The ice rink, my daughter is an ice skater. She didn't enjoy skating on that park because it feels like cardboard, she said, just that artificial ice surface, but maybe other people are enjoying it. But we're having trouble staffing to rent out the skates that were part of the package of paying for that park. Staffing is an issue in our city, you know, these lower paid staff jobs. And I've gone to the concession stand, and many times during the day when I think it would be open, it's closed. So I would like to speak against putting a lot of money into the concession stand. I would like to encourage the council to put as little money toward it just to fix it, make it functional, let it pass the health department code. But that is mostly for people who don't live here. Two Rivers is a small town. I put my bathing suit on at home and go to the beach, and I live, as I said, on Tannery and 34th. So this is a small town with a relatively low median income, with an older median age. We are not Grafton or Mequon, where there's a huge tax base to draw on. Two Rivers doesn't have a lot of money as a city because we don't have big industry paying taxes. We have all of these people here and in our community paying taxes. One of the reasons we came to Two Rivers was because of the low cost of living. It would be a shame because the council would like fancy things to drive out families and older people who can't afford the taxes. I recognize our taxes are still relatively low, but a 30% increase is still a lot for a lot of families. And if the city continues to build fancy things for people who don't even live here, it's just going to cause further problems for the citizens of this city So I'd like you to consider that in your deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, members of the council. My name is Dean Hervel. I live at 2730 42nd Street, in the best town I've ever lived in. I am a resident here. The only time we were away was our time in service. We came back here to raise our children, and we really, really love this town. First of all, I'd like to talk about, I hope you take into consideration what Diane and Chris brought to our attention. If you've ever been on Monroe Street between 16th and 22nd, between the hours of 7 and 8:15, you'll know exactly what they're talking about. You have a narrow street, parking on both sides, and now the bus is there picking up kids, and the car, and all he's got is his four-ways on. And so the cars are always going around him. It just, boy, you're just waiting for something to happen. So please, please, please consider that. That is a great thing. Thank you, Diane and Chris, for bringing that up. What I'd like to look at is on your agenda in item E, you're going to award the bid to Hammond Construction. So that tells me that you have a list of how much the electrical is going to cost, how much the plumbing is going to cost. You've got that. Well, down in G, your consideration to proceed to the Beach Pavilion investment upgrade. Within that money, it would be nice for the public to see, okay, electrical is going to cost this much. We're going to go from lead pipe, we're going to PEX tubing. We're going to put an upgrade to the panels. That is all on a sheet that says, it's like your house. You know, if I let my house go for as long as the beach was let go with that stuff, it wouldn't work. You know, you'd replace it. You'd know you'd put in the new wiring and upgrade it and all that stuff. So thank you for hearing me, and thank you all for what you do.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Pat Klein. I'm on the Planning Commission. Some of you I've interacted with on Facebook. And I just want to compliment the presentations here tonight. They were calm, they were considerate, they were friendly, and it would be really nice if we did the same thing on Facebook. Because oftentimes, these individuals work very hard, and there is unnecessary criticism coming at them. We have 11,000 plus people in this community, and trying to please everybody is never going to happen. So we need to contribute respectfully, kindly, and be peacemakers, right? So hopefully from now on Facebook, we will be kind to one another. We won't do character assassination, but we would treat each other like we'd want to be treated, right? I got a good group up here. So thank you very much for everything that you do, and let the conversation continue on Facebook in a very respectful manner. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Sorry. Anybody else? Sorry, didn't mean to scream. The microphone won't work. Anyone else?
Jeff Dalkey, 3727 Adams Street. I think from all the people, you look around here, there's people on the left, there's people on the right, and both sides said the same thing. Stop spending our money. This is getting out of hand. We don't need a $2 million concession stand. Just fix the thing. Make it look nice. Put the lipstick on a pig. Who cares? But just stop spending the money. I'm gonna tell you right now, you guys tax me out of here. I told Kathy, when our taxes hit 14 grand, we're selling. So you only gotta deal with me till about April. But I'm not gonna be nice from now until April. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Woznicki. I've been here since I've been a little kid, but I ended up leaving here when I was 47. I went up to Sturgeon Bay and I started taking my girlfriend out, who actually worked at the telephone company here. She actually ran the telephone company over by Miro there. Well, I started taking her out. We've been going steady now for 36 years. And I said, well, I'm going to take a run over here because I was in Chicago for 15 years and we now have a Chicago mayor. And I'll tell you what, when I came back from Chicago and I tell the people what actually happened down there, these people would call me a liar. I'd say, you know, now you can hear that on TV all the time. 30 people get shot, 15 get killed. This was happening every week for all them years that I was there. So I knew what was happening. And the other thing is, I started my own business. And I went up and I had to get a permit to do it. And they said I had to definitely pay all the tax. But because I lived in Two Rivers and I came and worked up there and I only spent half my time there, I ended up, I would pay, they wanted to know where I was going to pay my taxes. I said, Two Rivers, probably Wisconsin. So I lived at 2712 32nd Street. I had that for 24 years. I bought it for $18,000 and I sold it for $130,000. So believe it or not, it was a really, really nice place. And what I wanted to do is make sure that you guys are going to be right behind a new mayor, because I'll tell you what, that state or that city was run so bad, it was unbelievable. When I told the cops, I says, why don't you guys put some of that stuff on the paper? He says, we say anything to you, believe it or not, we'll lose our pensions. So I said, oh man, I guess I understand where you're coming from. And it kind of really, really bugged me. But I did real, real well there. And right before 9/11, I was able to sell my business. And it was 2 weeks before. I got $50,000. He still owed me $200,000. But 6 months later, he ended up going belly up and he was going to file for, and I talked to the lawyers there. He said, you got to have 2 lawyers every time you come in, John. He's going to not get away with it. He ain't going to pay anymore. I says, okay, fine and dandy. But I made enough money while I was down there, so I was happy. I ended up living up in Sturgeon Bay, and my girlfriend, all her relation lives around here. I'm 82 years old, and I can't really drive at night anymore. So I says, well, what do you want to do? She says, well, let's move back to Mishkot or Manitowoc. Well, we came over here and she spotted this place on 1705 Blue Heron Drive. She sat there for half an hour. She says, let's buy it. I says, well, what do you mean? She says, I like it here. I just like this place. It's a lot like our place, but it ain't as big. Well, believe it or not, we got a whole basement full of junk. We gave half of it away already. We sold a lot. And I'll tell you, when I heard about this, about the lake and that, charging that $10, you know what? My dad said to me, you know what, John? We lost Miro, we lost Hamilton's, we lost Paragon, we lost 4,500 people that came here and spent money all the time. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, think about it. We had about 30 taverns in here where these people all went. We had 6 or 7 guys that cut hair for all these guys that came and worked here. And he says, I had to go to Kiwani to get people to come to work at Miro. And I'll tell you, I sit down and I think, I hope you guys think like he did, because he helped build that Catholic the high school here between there. And he was the kind of guy that always wanted to help people. And that's what he said I should do. When I was a JC here, and what we did is we worked out at that picnic place or that place out there. And at that time, believe this or not, Bob Petrosky was kind of like the president of the JC's club. We ended up giving, I think, $30,000 to the community house, and we gave, the JCs kept on giving money so that they'd build these parks, do this, do that, is the JC still doing that?
Oh, no, there's no JCs anymore.
But see, I'm sitting there thinking, if you guys do something, if you get somebody to run that place there, like the JCs, because they're going to donate that time anyway. If you hire somebody today, you got to almost pay them $20 an hour. So, it's anybody going into business there ain't going to make any money. So the other thing is you guys got to start thinking about getting businesses back here. And I'll tell you what, there's little things. I used to work for the milkmen and right now I was sitting there thinking somebody could start a bakery thing again and call on these people, because just bread is $3 and $4 a loaf. Okay, buns are way high, everything. So if somebody started that and you had a guy delivering it, you'd end up making money, but it would also help. But to get somebody to do that, you guys are going to have to give them a break on taxes for maybe the first 2 years. I don't know if I'm doing this right. See, I was never in the kind of business you guys are in, but I didn't have to pay any taxes. And you know what? I made money hand over fist when I was in Chicago. So that's how I made all mine. Well, I hope this works out for you. And the other thing is, I hope you don't charge the $10 because there's people here that, like I heard these people, but we went to a couple of events and they said, hell, I go there 3 times. I take my dogs there. I walk my dogs there. I live out by Blue Heron there. There's 4 people that take their cars, drive down there every day with their dogs. Okay, that's it for me.
Hi, my name is Lori Sipple. I live at 2325 38th Street. I am opposed to spending $450,000 on a concession stand, only do the minimum to bring it up to code. And yes, our taxes are out of control in this city. The increase is getting people that are older than me are having problems deciding what bills to pay sometimes, which is sad because they are the backbone of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Doug Klein. I live at 3111 Monroe Street. And I just wanted to comment on the idea of this parking fees. I know you guys must have looked at all the variables, but as one person pointed out, it would push some of the traffic into the neighborhoods. But I think you would also have a traffic congestion problem down at the beach itself. People who are checking and approving and telling them pull over, we have to have a discussion because it backs up already now. And so if you have people stopping and chattering and paying a fee or whatever the case may be, or checking their car and have suspicion, I think that flow through the beach area is going to be a major mess. So there's a lot of unintended consequences that come with any change that takes place. I appreciate that it's a pilot program and that you will find out, given that you go forward with that. But the rest of the items on the agenda have been adequately addressed, and appreciate your time and your efforts. I know the difficulty in making these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Taylor Pekorski. I'm at 3416 Garfield Street. I just wanted to bring up kind of a different perspective. Everyone is really talking about, just the bare minimum, but I don't know that the bare minimum to the concession stand is quite enough. I've been going there since I was in daycare, and I remember the unfortunate times of changing in the giant changing room with all of the other kids in there. Now that I have my own kids, I've been part of the line of children waiting to have to go to the bathroom because there's not enough toilet stalls. There's not enough places in there. It's not only the visitors that use that concession stand, it's us too. And it's us that are here raising our kids. So looking at the kind of blueprints for that update, well, I know it's a lot of money. It's also not reasonable to expect that taxes are never going to go up because, as we all know, everything is more expensive. So I just think it's worth a consideration when you're looking at the future of it, and I don't know, just making it the best we can for us too, and not just visitors. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, thank you all for your input tonight. I know we greatly appreciate it. On to number 8, council communications, letters and other communications from citizens. Yes, Adam.
Obviously, we have all received quite a few on the beach project, the beach pavilion concession stand area. So those are all duly noted. They were read, at least by me for sure. I did go through each one of them and read those comments. Also, I got a couple, got an email and a couple phone calls on code of conduct. Also got a email on perpetual care flower fund at the cemeteries, which was addressed by our Parks and Rec director. Also had a complaint on the keeping of ducks and chickens with fences not in the right area. I do believe our police department and the community service officer, I believe, have checked back and addressed that. So just make sure if you are keeping ducks and chickens that you do have all the right ordinances intact for fences and how far away they have to be so that you're not redoing that later on. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Bonnie.
I think we all got this communication of there's another, of not being able to hear council people during council meetings because they don't speak into the mic. I told him I'd say something and make sure I said something. I don't know if it'll help.
Thank you, Bonnie. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah, I think like Adam said, we all got a lot of the communications for the concession stand, the pavilion, and or the beach house. I don't know which of the three we call it, but the beach house. So moving on then to number 9, council reports from boards, commissions, and committees. Yes, Mark.
Well, I have 3 reports I want to talk about. First, the budget. We had our first budget meeting to address the upcoming budget preparation this past week. And Kyle pointed out all the effort we're putting into making sure our debt doesn't exceed legal limits, and we're doing a great job. As he said, by the end of the year, our debt will be reduced down to 32.6%. So that's a big, substantial reduction. I'd like to encourage everyone in the audience, everyone watching, listening to attend any future budget meetings. We've got 6 more meetings coming up the next 6 Thursdays. It's here at City Hall at 6 o'clock on Thursday. Please come be part of the process so you can be involved in the beginning. I also want to say that this morning we met at 8:30 for the Aging Committee. The Committee on Aging addresses a number of things regarding senior citizens and activities. We had an award given to the director of our senior center, Rising Stars, for her efficiency in the industry of senior centers in Wisconsin, and she won an award for outstanding performance. So congratulations to Heather. And also we have a room tax committee meeting tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock here at City Hall. We're talking about future promotional plans for room tax. And we're also going to be continuing to review all the existing license holders for the SDRs in city short-term rentals. And we're reviewing to make sure they're in compliance with all health and safety requirements to ensure that our visitors have a safe experience renting a property. That's all.
Okay.
Scott, if I could, I just want to double off. Mark was talking about the budget, and I just want to reassure everyone or let them know that taxes to the city's general fund did not go up last year. They went up absolutely zero. The things that went up were out of the city's control, which were LTC, the county, and the school district. Those are where your taxes went up. Those are out of the control of city council. So I just kind of wanted, because there's a couple of people that mentioned that. So I just want everyone to know that we actually went up zero as far as city council and your obligation to the city's general fund.
Thank you, Adam.
And to add one more point to Adam's comment, you realize we also review constantly the monthly performance of how we're doing as a city to our current budget. Through August 31st, that represents 67% of the budgeted year. And the city right now through the month of August is at 67.78% of the budget. So we're almost right on bullseye target of not exceeding our expenses and staying within the budgeted boundaries of operating this community.
To recap, our debt is low and dropping. We did not raise property taxes at all from last year to this year, and we are exactly on budget for where we should be for 2025.
What's amazing to our new city manager is that we recover our debt within 10 years. Well, that's unheard of in most cities in Wisconsin and certainly out of state.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Public Works, one thing that a lot of people would probably be concerned about is we're talking about taking the leaves from leaf collection, taking them and putting the difference between.
And, we're considering safety, to have them off the street.
Safety for having them out in the street, but we know everybody in Two Rivers wants to put them out on the outside the curb because it keeps the leaves from blowing back in their yard. So that was something we started talking about. I don't know if we're gonna continue to talk about it, but at that point, I know people would really care about.
Anyone else? Okay, on to number 10, consent agenda. Under A, we have presentation of minutes. We have two, one from the City Council regular meeting for September 15th, 2025, and City Council work session from September 29th, 2025. The recommended action will be a motion to receive those and file. Motion to waive reading, adopt the minutes. Under B, we have minutes of meetings. We have 7. We have the Environmental Advisory Board for August 19th, 2025, Public Utilities Committee from September 2nd, 2025, Public Works Committee from September 3rd, 2025, Committee on Aging, September 8th, 2025, Plan Commission for September 8th, 2025, Explore Two Rivers Board of Directors for September 9th, 2025, and the Business and Industrial Development Committee and Community Development Authority from September 18th, 2025. The recommended action will be a motion to receive and file. Under C, we have finance reports from July 2025. We have 4 of those. We have debt service, general fund, Leicester Library, and utilities report. Recommended action will be a motion to receive and file. Under D, we have applications and petitions. Under 1, we have application for temporary Class B license for Two Rivers Main Street for the Fall Wine and Beer Walk on October 24th, 2025, from 5:00 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. in downtown Two Rivers. The recommended action will be a motion to approve the application and authorize issuance of the license. The recommended action for the consent agenda will be a motion to approve the consent agenda with various actions recommended.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the various actions recommended.
Thank you, Adam. Second by. Thank you, Bonnie. Any council discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a all in favor, voice vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all for that. On to 11, city council formal items. Under A, we have the proclamation declaring the week of October 5th through the 11th, 2025 as Public Power Week. Recommended action is motion to read and adopt the proclamation. I will need a motion first.
I'll make.
Thank you, Bonnie. Second by Doug. Any council discussion? See none, we'll do a voice vote again. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Public Power Week proclamation. Whereas we, the citizens of the city of Two Rivers, place high value on local control over community services and therefore have chosen to operate a community-owned, local-controlled, not-for-profit electric utility. And as consumers and owners of our electric utility have direct say in utility operations and policies. And whereas Two Rivers Utilities provides our homes, businesses, and local government agencies with reliable, efficient, and cost-effective electricity, employing sound business practices designed to ensure the best possible service at not-for-profit rates. And whereas Two Rivers Utilities is a valuable community asset that contributes substantially to the well-being of local citizens through energy efficiency, customer service, environmental protection, economic development, and safety awareness. And now therefore be it resolved, the Two Rivers Utilities will continue to work to bring lower cost, safe, reliable electricity to community homes and businesses just as it has since 1902, the year when the utility was created to serve all citizens of Two Rivers. And be it further resolved that the week of October 5th through the 12th be designated as Public Power Week in order to honor Two Rivers Utilities for its contributions to the community and to make its consumer-owned policymakers and employees more aware of its overall contribution to the well-being. And therefore, the City Council of the City of Two Rivers hereby proclaims the week of October 5th through the 12th of 2025 as Public Power Week, dated the 6th day of October, 2025.
Thank you for that. On to B, ordinance to amend chapter 8-1 of the municipal code of the city of Two Rivers, Wisconsin regarding the general traffic regulation.
This is what Superintendent Johnson spoke about earlier in the meeting. This is a common sense, practical amendment to the city code that will adopt stricter local rules that govern the transportation of school children. This includes the mandatory use of school bus stop arms and flashing red warning lights whenever children are boarding or leaving a bus. It's essentially doubling down to make sure our kids are protected. We're considering this a proactive step that reflects our efforts to focus on prevention of accidents and reduction of risk by doing everything in our power to safeguard children traveling to and from school. How does this impact drivers? It means that you will see more school buses with their red lights flashing and the stop arm extended, and drivers cannot ever drive around a school bus when the arm is extended. Any questions on this? Go ahead, Tim.
Why was the policy made that the school buses would not do that?
So I can answer that. We had adopted for our traffic code the code that is in the state of Wisconsin statutes. That's common for most municipalities, that for writing citations, you adopt what is in the state statute for moving violations, the applicable bond schedule, and so forth. The state statute does not require that both the lights flash and the arm be extended. There is an administrative code section that was not incorporated in city statute that this ordinance would propose to incorporate. It would take the same standard that requires the flashing lights, that requires the arm to be extended, and that would incorporate this in the city code, which would make that a violation subject to the citation forfeiture schedule already in the code. So the short answer is it's because we haven't, like many municipalities of our size, no one went through and wrote every traffic law from scratch. Instead, we adopted the state statute, and this is just adopting more state statute that was not previously adopted, because I guess adopting a code that builds upon that would then make that a violation.
So are we gonna leave Memorial Drive? Is that gonna be, is everybody gonna have to stop every 50 yards on Memorial Drive, or can we have where Memorial Drive, since the bus got a side lane that they can get out?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I'm not sure how this applies to Memorial Drive.
Yeah, it might make an unsafe condition because you're gonna have a lot of traffic, especially those times of the day.
Captain?
Hang on one second. We have the police chief coming up. Or I'm sorry, not the police chief.
Captain Rates.
Captain,
Second
yes,
in
thank
command.
you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, on a divided highway, you don't have to stop.
Thank you for clarifying.
Incidences have we?
I'd have to look. I don't know offhand, but it's pretty frequent. Throughout the school year, we get reports all the time from bus drivers, so. We feel, we're in agreement with city manager on this. We feel it's just an extra step that people are already doing. They're already stopping for the buses when they're stopped. The arm's just kind of an extra notification.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Well, the double on Bill's comment, is that gonna apply to two-way traffic on Memorial Drive?
No,
Okay, and then
not on a divided highway, no.
the second part of that is, will this back up traffic on some streets when they are constantly having to stop versus go around for people that are on the same side of the road? And when you have conjunction with some spots that have double stop signs, you go, especially in and around some of the back roads, it's stop, block, stop, block, stop. If you have multiple pickups on that same block and people trying to get in and out of there, is that gonna back up traffic into other intersections?
It will be exactly the same as it was before. Nothing would change with that. It's just an extra feature.
Well, because you could go around the bus when they had the yellow flashings on.
You couldn't go around the bus. When they're stopped to pick up students, offload and unload, offload and upload, they couldn't
You're
get
not
the stop.
supposed to go around the bus.
Correct.
But they do, right?
They were supposed to stop before the stop arm was out,
Correct.
with no stop arm?
If the lights are flashing.
You have to stop 20 feet behind the bus, yeah.
Oh, I thought you had to have the stop sign.
So
I did too.
all this does here is when, yes, so all it's doing is adding an extra step. It's the same traffic laws that we already follow. It's the same standards. It's just we're adding the addition of requiring that the arm also be raised out.
So, last week I was on Hawthorne and there was 8 cars behind the bus, so that's.
You have to have to stop for the bus.
Right, and that you didn't have to do before. Because you didn't have to stop when it was yellow,
Coming from the other way.
coming from the opposite way. But you said before you could go around that.
Correct. When the lights are red, I'm sorry. I misspoke them before.
Right, so when they're yellow, you could still go.
Correct.
So now you can't, and that's what I'm asking about the back
When
of traffic.
when the stop arm is out, they're gonna put the stop arm out when the lights are red.
Right, so then you have to stop, where before you could continue on.
If it was yellow and the stop arm wasn't out.
Right, that's what I'm
Yep.
saying, is gonna back up
Yep.
traffic.
It would still be the same.
So right now, if the school bus pulls
Over. There's no red flashing lights. If kids are just boarding the bus at a stop, the normal yellow lights are on. The red lights are not flashing. You can still go around that. If the red lights are flashing, as they do now when kids are getting off the bus, this simply adds the additional requirement that the bus driver not only turn the red flashing lights on, but also move the safety arm out.
Right.
So it's the same thing we're doing now. Nothing's changing except in the scenarios before where we would have the red lights flashing, where you'd still have to stop. The safety arm is also going out.
So this is just involving the safety arm versus the yellow flashing lights. So you can still put the yellow flashing lights on to pick up kids, But when the red lights come on, the safety alarm's coming on. Okay, I was under the impression we were putting the red lights on for every pickup.
Nope, red lights
Okay.
stay the same. We're just adding the arm.
Got it.
When the red lights go on.
Okay, I was confused on that part of it then. Thank you for the clarification. That's why I'm thinking the traffic has to be backed up somehow. Has to.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Here's the lady.
With Canton.
If the officers covered it in a sense, so.
Any other questions for the captain or Kyle? If not, then we are looking for a motion.
Make a motion to waive the reading and adopt the resolution.
Ordinance. Yep.
Ordinance, right.
And Bill will second it. Any council discussion?
I was
Go ahead,
just
Tim.
confused that, because I was told at one time the bus company was told not to put the stop sign out.
Anyone else? If not, we're looking for a roll call vote. Amanda?
Tim Petrie. Anisha Malunas. Pat Steckmesser.
Aye.
Adam Mahusky.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc. Aye. Mark Bittner.
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Doug Brandt.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, on to C, right of first refusal agreement for WGNR Bedding Company Incorporated.
WGNR at 4618 Woodland Drive. This is a one-year right of first refusal agreement covering property the city owns on Woodland Drive. It's 1.5 acres of city-owned property adjacent to their facility. Under this agreement, if the city ever received an offer to purchase that property, WGNR would have the first opportunity to match those terms within 30 days. WGNR Furniture is celebrating their 80th year as a company, so they are growing. So we hope for future growth here in Two Rivers from them in the not too distant future. They have been here since 1984. This renewal is not a new agreement. It's just a continuation of the city's existing relationship with WGNR. Happy to answer any questions.
That agreement, right of first review, has been going on since 1984?
The right of first refusal hasn't. They've just been located there since 1984. You know what? They weren't at that exact location, but they've been somewhere in Two Rivers since 1984. This right of first refusal has not been in place since the 80s. It's much newer than that.
They park stuff on that property?
Nope, not to my knowledge.
Other questions? If not, then we're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement on behalf of the city of Two Rivers for the right of first refusal agreement with WGNR.
Thank you, Adam. Second by, gotcha, Darla. Thank you. Any council discussion? See none, we'll do a voice vote. So all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. On to D, ordinance to amend chapter 6-5 of the municipal code of the city of Two Rivers, Wisconsin, regulating the licensing of dogs and regulation of animals.
An amendment to the code that would update rules for animal ownership in Two Rivers. This primarily came out of a need to address residents harvesting chickens or deers at their property. This does a few things. It clarifies already existing dog licensing requirements and late fees that are already in the code. Dogs must be licensed by April 1st or within 30 days of owning a dog. This ordinance clarifies the $250 fine that is in place for violations of animal regulations. It strengthens animal waste rules, requiring immediate cleanup in public areas and prohibiting accumulation of waste or carcasses on private property.
All said there, Kyle, before you move on, the former ordinance was dog feces only. This applies it to all animal waste. So we're extending that. Doesn't matter what animal it comes from. If it's waste, it's going to be treated the same.
And perhaps the biggest meat and potatoes of this ordinance is it creates clear standards for slaughtering livestock or processing game in certain zoning districts. It talks about humane practices, noise limits, and restrictions on resale of the meat. This creates rules for residents living in the R1 and the R2 residential districts. Only if you're in the R1 or the R2 can you lawfully own and slaughter livestock. On on your private property in the backyard, so nobody can hear it, nobody can see it, and it's all cleaned up afterwards. It's intended to protect public health and neighborhood quality of life.
Any questions? Yes, Mark.
I'm not a hunter and never slaughtered a deer, but you have to hang the deer a certain period of time. Does this cover, when we talk about slaughtering public view, does this also cover hanging a deer pre-slaughter to make sure it's secluded or hidden?
Yes,
Yep.
it does include slaughtering deer.
If you're in that zoning district, then you can certainly slaughter a deer in your backyard, pursuant to the performance standards here with waste and removal and those things. So that's certainly permitted here. We're just trying to formalize and I guess, limit the negative effects of that, specifically keeping it in the backyard. We don't want it in the front yard and keeping it so the waste is cleaned up and promptly.
I read that in there here. Question is, that slaughtering cover simply the hanging the deer prior to slaughter? Because I think you have to hang a deer so many days.
Yep. So that would be included in here. Yep. Just with the processing of any other animal that included, it's now saying do it in the backyard. I guess if you had an enclosed space, you could do it too. There's nothing that prohibits someone from commercially or otherwise having animal processing inside. But this is, if you want to do it in a residential district, it's got to be in the R1 or R2. It's got to be in your backyard.
The slaughtering and processing shall not create noise which may annoy or disturb a person located near the property.
Any other questions? Yes, Bonnie.
This is for the whole, we're covering a lot of stuff in here. So if somebody's late with their dog license, who goes after them? Used to be the city clerk and you struck it, it got struck out. So who's gonna do it? You're not gonna put this on the community service officer, are
So
you?
so it's still going to this.
What?
So this still goes to the city clerk. So we are updating the late fee section. The requirement and the administration of this is left unchanged. We didn't change that section, so it's not included in this ordinance amendment. The ordinance amendment, we've only included, because we're talking about a lot of things, only the sections that are changed. So I was just cleaning up the language here. The city clerk is still responsible for this. It's still in the fee schedule to be collected by the clerk. We're just cleaning up and simplifying the language in the forfeiture section.
So you're putting that statement somewhere else?
It's already, that's been duplicated. So now it's only once instead of being there twice.
Just don't remember.
Go ahead, Adam.
Didn't we talk about getting the word livestock out of there? Because I thought we were going after only animals that could be legally kept here within the city or legally harvested via a hunt, so that we weren't bringing in animals like cows, pigs, sheep, or whatever else you might do and start bringing it to people's house to do a side gig or whatever it was that we were going to take livestock out of there when we talked about this at the work session.
Rather than take the word livestock out, we defined that. We said in 6-5/25A, livestock as defined by statute lawfully kept in accordance with this chapter. And in this chapter, we further defined that only urban fowl may be kept. So we're not allowing,
Where's that definition in here?
So under A,
Section 4, right?
Section 4, you might be
not having the right stuff.
Yeah, right here. Lawfully kept in accordance with this chapter. So if you're not lawfully keeping the animal and livestock, the only animal that is both livestock under 95-51-1 and can be lawfully kept in accordance with chapter 6-5 would be the urban poultry that we allow under the statute.
Like a little confusing, I guess, when you read it, because the word livestock still comes in there, and it's not
Ducks,
Yep.
chickens. Some people do. Votes.
Right, and that's what we're trying to make sure that's not coming into the city to do.
And that's the intent of the ordinance. Yeah.
Anything else? Any other questions? Otherwise, we are looking for a motion.
No, this is an animal owner liability. So if you own, keep, or possess, you're responsible for cleaning up their waste. If if geese come in your lawn, anything like that, it's only if you own the animal.
So no collars around the geese or ducks? Okay. Anything else? Like I said, we're looking for a motion. Okay. Motion to waive reading and adopt the ordinance? Okay. Do we have a second? Thank you, Doug. Council discussion. Okay, seeing none, we will do a roll call vote. Amanda?
Scott Steckmeister.
Aye.
Adam Mahusky.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc.
Aye.
Mark Bittner. Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Doug Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Petrie. Bonnie Shimalunas.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all for that. On to E, award a bid for Neshota Park Shelter Restroom Remodel Contract to Hammond Construction Company of Manitowoc in the amount of $58,718.
It's important to emphasize that all these improvements on this agenda item are part of the budgeted capital plan already approved by council in the 2025 adopted budget and not requiring any new or additional spending. This is a contract for restroom renovations at Neshota Park, not the beach, the ones by the horseshoe courts. This will refresh the building with new touchless sinks and toilets, ADA accessible upgrades, fresh paint, and a new energy efficient water heater. This project was advertised in a publicly posted competitive bid with a budget of $55K. Bids came in slightly higher than we thought. These restroom renovations, along with the new signage and native planting scheduled for this fall, should round out and complete this year's grant-supported package of Neshota Park improvements. The bid opening was on September 22nd.
Any questions for Kyle or for our Parks and Rec Director, Mike Mathis?
You say that this is going to be taken care of with a grant?
Mike can shed more on this, not this exact project, but the overall Neshota Park improvements.
This is, you could essentially think of this as a 50-50 grant funded, city funded. This, because it's a part of the $419,000 project that we had with stewardship for this entire year. So 50% of all these improvements that have been going on this year are grant funded. So 58,000, half of that is grant funded. Yes.
There's no other questions, and we're looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion to award the contract to Hammond Construction Company of Manitowoc based on its lowest qualified bid in the amount of $58,718 for the Neshota Park restroom remodel.
Thank you, Adam. Second by.
Second the motion.
Thank you, Mark. Any council discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Amanda?
Adam Mahusky.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc. Mark Bittner. Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Doug Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Petrie. Bonnie Shimalunas.
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all for that. On to F, consideration to approve a Neshota Beach Support Paid Parking Pilot Program for 2026.
We have a goal here. What are we trying to accomplish? The goal is to shift the cost of the beach and parking lot maintenance off the back of residents and the general fund, your property taxes, to non-residents who visit Two Rivers in the peak season and can generate user fees. We're aiming for user fees, not property taxes. That is the goal. We have traffic issues and we have a supply and demand problem at the beach, but we also have an opportunity to try something new. Nobody knows how exactly this will try or end up. That's why we're calling it a pilot program. At the September 29th council work session, community conversation, the council reached general consensus to move forward with a paid parking pilot program at the beach. This is a big deal, but it's also not a commitment. This pilot program represents the first time Two Rivers has ever tried paid parking at the beach, and we want to proceed slowly. Nobody is rushing, and carefully down this route. This pilot program would operate in lots 2 and 3 only, meaning most of the parking at the beach would remain free and open. This pilot program would be only in lots 2 and 3, and only during 10 to 20 beach peak days next year, charging a flat $10 daily fee per vehicle only in lots 2 and 3, collected manually by seasonal staff or community nonprofit organizations. Free parking would remain in lots 1, 4, 5, and along the Slatnik Drive. This trial would generate an estimated $20,000 in revenue. It would reserve lot 1, I already went over the free parking lots. It would allow the city to evaluate what kind of traffic impacts would happen in the surrounding neighborhood. Most importantly, it would allow us to gather data that we don't currently have that we could then use for future decision-making on what we're going to do with paid parking at the beach. It's been talked about for years. It's hard to make a decision on that because we're lacking data. This would allow us to gather data to facilitate and inform decision-making on residents versus non-residents. We don't really have that. And revenue potential. It's a low-risk pilot program. It preserves free parking alternatives while advancing the agenda to test a fairer long-term approach to funding beach operations.
Yes, Mark, questions?
I have a question for our legal attorney. Can you clarify what the state statute is regarding charging a resident of Two Rivers parking versus a visitor of Two Rivers? I know there's confusion how we can separate the two, but can we charge a visitor only for the parking and give our residents free parking, or what's that distinction?
This isn't derived from statute. It's derived from case law, and it's evaluated on a case-by-case basis. What the court directs municipalities to do is essentially to balance the burden on that service that's paid by residents versus the what that fee would be on non-residents. If the taxpayers are already contributing towards a service and that service is expensive, then the courts have said that the city, you're free to charge a higher amount to non-residents than residents, where the residents, I guess, share of that use is being captured in their property taxes. That becomes more difficult in the case of a parking lot where the city has low costs to create and maintain a parking lot. It's difficult to say that, residents should pay $20 a day for a parking, to park somewhere. City residents should get it for free. And you say that $20 a day is to create equity between residents and non-residents in paying for that parking lot when the city spends very little to create that parking lot and to maintain it. So on a case-by-case basis, it can become difficult where we have something that we want to charge for that has actually a relatively low cost to maintain and create. So that makes it a lot more difficult to say that we can charge residents, not charge residents a fee and non-resident, and charge maybe a substantial fee to non-residents. In this case, that's made difficult. That's not to say that's the case in every case, because it's a balancing test of the equities. The idea is that, once you account from property taxes, that the burden's being bared equally by everyone. That's what the court cases instruct the city to do. So in this case here, it's my office's opinion in analyzing it in the context of a parking lot that has relatively low costs. It's difficult to have a wide gap between residents and non-residents. There could certainly be some gap. That there's nothing that says that they couldn't have a reduced rate for residents, a higher rate for non-residents, or something like that. But we would caution the council to be careful about adopting something where we say charged non-residents $20 a day and residents $0 a day. I think a court would be skeptical of that. But that's not to say there can't be some variance. It's just when you get to higher amounts of variance, I think the courts are going to be skeptical of that.
Can I challenge you on that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I think we do have a high cost in maintaining that parking lot. So in winter, when DPW is done with all their other routes, they tend to go in there and they clean those out and push snow to the side. Also, at the beginning of every summer, We spend a lot of time between DPW Public Works on cleaning those lots from all the sand and all the debris that come into those lots. And I know not Public Works, but the Parks Department also goes down there routinely and uses, I forget what it's called, it's a Whacker brand, and they sweep those parking lots. So I would tend to say that we do have quite a bit of maintenance that goes on there, and that Whacker machine is not that cheap either. We just purchased another one, I think this year, correct, Mike, or the year before? We just purchased another one, and I mean, I think we do actually do a lot to those parking lots to maintain them.
Keeping them painted too along the fence posts all the way around the pod. That's all on city expense too, to maintain the boundaries.
I was just playing devil's advocate if that's enough
I mean,
to help us here.
And certainly, I haven't been given, all the exact numbers of what the costs are, but in comparison to the comparable cases where the court said it was permissible, a parking lot's going to be on the lower end when we're talking about these types of examples. That's not to say the city can't differentiate. The city's free to differentiate. I would just caution the city from exploring the extremes. If the city wants to charge nominally more for non-residents than residents, if the city, want to do a parking pass for residents that's cheaper, I think there's a lot of case law that would support that. I just caution against the scenario where we're charging, substantially more or charging, $10, $20 a day for non-residents and then nothing for residents. I think that might draw, I think that's the concern.
But we could do a considerable cheaper parking pass. So, I mean, we could do a $10 yearly pass where everyone else pays $10 a day.
Yeah, I mean, you can see municipalities in Wisconsin that charge $10 a day for parking, and they say anyone who comes to City Hall on a weekday over the lunch hour can buy one for $10. In effect, that means only residents can really buy the pass, but you're opening it to everyone. And then you don't have constitutional concerns there. You also see municipalities who charge a flat lower rate for the entire year to residents only. And then they mail it out if you elect that with your water bill or whatever, and then charge a higher price if you pay the day of. There's a lot of, and I can certainly provide staff a lot of examples of other municipalities that we've worked with. Our substantial concern would just be saying, if the city said no fees for parking for residents, and then had a more substantial fee for non-residents. That's our big concern.
I have another question related to that. So we could do it if we wanted. My question for you is, in doing that, it's going to obviously cause delay and congestion to separate a resident, non-resident. Are we going to run into barriers of requiring proof of residency for Two Rivers or non-residents? Or how would we?
So ultimately, that's going to be staff in your discretion.
There's no legal boundaries or problems with
as to how you identify. I mean, it's up to the city to plan, I guess.
we could legally and not get in trouble.
Sure. I mean,
stopping someone and demanding proof of residency.
I mean, it probably would be proof of residency. I mean, or it could be. A lot of municipalities, you see it with like a sticker program on your vehicles, pass system or something like that. If the city certainly would have many options. I think it's Mike wants to.
I would just say that we would avoid checking residency at the time of payment at a lot against as much as possible, because we don't want to slow down parking if this goes forward. That could take a significant amount of time. If we went that route, it would have to be probably at the customer service desk and here at City Hall and the Parks and Rec desk at the community house, where that residency would get verified.
Well, I'm just trying to determine, that's a choice of city council, Mike.
Yeah, I'm just saying it would be.
I just wanted to see if it's legally legitimate. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can enforce that, but stickers are a big way. Verifying vehicle ownership gets tricky because people don't always update their vehicle registration as to where it's owned. There's a lot of different options here that the city could explore, but in terms of the legal perspective, I guess my point is just the city has some discretion there, but I'd caution the city away from the extremes.
And all of this is about the permanent or whatever we do in 2027 or some future year, not necessarily for the pilot program.
Correct. Yep. The pilot program is just same for residents and non-residents. Like Kyle said, we're talking 10 to 20 days to get data here. So we can certainly discuss this at a later date. I can even prepare a presentation if you wanted for a work session to talk more about these intricacies, but I don't think that's, a substantial concern in the context of this pilot.
Or it could be if we think it is. It's our decision, isn't it? Yeah.
For internal staff discussions, just one of the things we're kicking around is pretty much exactly what you said. Whenever we get enough data, we can make an actual decision for future years. What we are thinking is $10 per day for non-residents, $10 per car per day, and then $5 or $10 for some kind of a seasonal pass. We already do these at the community house. You get these for residents. It's $5, maybe it's $10 for a full season, $5 for a year. Non-residents, $10 per day per car. That would really shift who is paying for the beach over time. Just an idea.
Any other questions for, yes?
All right, so so out of towners, we could charge them. Our residents, taxpayers, all right? I'm concerned about taxpayers, just not, I can't say I don't care about everyone who lives here, but the burden is not on people who don't own property. I'm thinking that instead of money changing hands for the residents, could we have one parking lot that's designated residents only? And then you don't have to worry about paying anyone, and you could get a sticker or something hanging from your rear view mirror just saying that, yes, we prove that we have residency and I'm parking here.
Question?
My office has not looked substantially into that. I know there's some concerns with equality under the Wisconsin Constitution. I also noticed that there's communities that do that. I think I'd want to research that a little bit further before I can fully advise on that. But there are certainly communities that do that. But I also know there are also some concerns there about fairness. So I think I'd want to be able to research that more fully before I advise on that. But
Well, in the same vein, I mean, you have an apartment building, residents parking only. I mean, go ahead and, just check it out. But I think that there's maybe a way around this.
I mean, I guess the only difference in that example is the city has responsibilities for equity under the Constitution that, a private company certainly isn't going to have. The Wisconsin statute and case law specifically, the goal is not that the city favors its own residents, even though we'd like the city to favor its own residents. The goal is that that when you factor in property taxes, there's supposed to be equity between residents and non-residents. That's what the legislature and the courts have decided. So that's kind of the deck we're playing with.
Questions? Yes, Doug.
Yeah, pilot program, if it's successful, would we move to a more sophisticated system like a kiosk or a QR code type app?
There's different technology we could use. There's different logistics of how we could do it. The one thing the city manager likes is treating it kind of like a parking garage with just a simple arm, where there's an arm at the entrance and an arm. It's an idea. I like just personal recommendation, and we'll know more data at the end of this season. But I think it would be quick and efficient. You pull in, you hit the button, you go. On the way out, on the other side is where if you're a resident, you just scan your thing and the gate opens up for you and you're out. You don't have to pay. If you're a non-resident, you would put a $10 bill in, or you would swipe the credit card on the way out of the beach. I don't think we want people paying at the front end. That's where you get the traffic congestion. You want people paying on the way out, like a parking garage.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, let's just reiterate that this is for like the 10 busiest days on the beach, not every day, not a common Tuesday. It's for a 4th of July or a very high populated beach day. So if you go down there to walk your dog, you're not going to have to pay to park on a Tuesday or whatever. I don't know if you want to walk your dog on the 4th of July, but I mean, this is just for the maximum usage days at this time.
And part of the council's motion, whoever decides to make the motion, is if you could help clarify, we could do 10 days, we could do 15 days, we could do 20 days. It's up how narrow or wide of a window we want to look at for this pilot program.
My goal when I kind of finalized the proposal for you in this meeting versus the work session was that I said that we would try to schedule those days by May 18th so that we could make announcements about when they would be. And then we could assure that we have the staff to run those days or community organizations to run those days. So we would determine those by May 18th, and then be able to staff them out, and ensure that we can actually execute them.
Charge on the inbound. How do you know inbound if there's available spaces for the car to park in?
That could be an issue, I guess, if they're coming into a parking lot and the attendant doesn't know if it's full. So that's a
How are we
potential
going to
issue.
address the issue of if there's open spots, if you're inbound charging, is there an open spot to park? Because then if we're charging inbound for an open spot to park, he drives around and turns around, he drives out, they're going to want to be refunded their charge. And how do we determine he just came in inbound, he's not a person departing who parked there?
Great question, Mark. I didn't think of that one necessarily. Yeah, so that's, that'd be a tough situation. Probably the attendant would have to refund it.
Well, congestion wise on a busy day, I mean, it's going to be a nightmare.
So
They gotta research it.
So
Yeah.
I just want to step in here. So the council, we shouldn't be answering questions at this point. This is for the council to debate. That's how the rules that the council has decided to abide by. So.
Thank you. At this point, folks.
Okay, we'll keep going.
So there's kind of two things. One, we could keep things the same and do things the way we've always done and not try anything different. I've been hearing in the past 2 months, we're sick and tired of tourists coming here and we have to keep paying for the beach cleanup. I hear that loud and clear. This is a pilot program for us to try something new, see how it works, collect data, and make a decision based on data. We don't have to do that. We could status quo and keep things the way they've always been. That's the other course of action. It's worked fine up until now.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we're looking for a motion. Bonnie?
I'm just curious to know, what's your measurement that it was successful? Is it that people are using it and it's full all the time?
I think you'd have to take into consideration a few things, how much revenue that we make, probably how many complaints we got about the traffic backing up, if we'll need to be monitoring that and keeping track of that. I don't have an official way to monitor that. We'll probably have to do it on a complaints basis, if it slows down the Zlotnick, or if we if there's the potential to forcing parking into the neighborhood. So it would have to be police and park and rec department complaints that we'd receive as a metric there. Yep. And we could know, the other thing we would know is exactly how many people parked in those lots within a given time frame and how much money we made off of them. Gives us just a way to project more accurately in a more robust business plan with more infrastructure.
And then knowing if it's 50% residents or 50% non-residents, or is it more like 80-20? I've heard numbers all over the board and nobody really has an accurate number on that. So I think success would be having an answer to that at the end of the year. So then we can extrapolate a business plan and say, hey, we know 75 or 80% of the people come to the beach don't live here. That would be valuable information.
Adam, go ahead.
I think it's worth a shot, and I say that because I've heard from, and I fought it off for a long time, about residents saying, why don't we charge for parking at the beach? And I've heard that for many years, and I fought it off. And we're to the point where I also hear the same thing, that it costs us so much money to run the beach. And it always comes back to the taxpayer. And I agree, it does. And that's frustrating for us as well as taxpayers and a council. We do spend a lot of money down at the beach, and how do we recoup that money? And I think the only way to kind of put this to rest is to try this out and say, hey, we have 10 or 15 days. This either worked or it didn't work. And you can finally put it to bed. Because like I said, it's been kicked around since I've been on council for 6 years. It's been back and forth. Yes, we should. No, we shouldn't. Yes, we should. No one's ever took the bull by the horn and just said, let's try it. And I think we're killing just 2 lots, 10 to 15 days. And that's going to give us some actual data to say, yes, this worked. No, it didn't. Let's never do this again, or let's expand it because it was good. And we can get season passes for our residents in future years where they're not paying the same amount as tourists do. And I think that's what I was talking to the attorney about, is we do spend a lot of money to keep those lots free from sand, to clean up, whether it's winter, before winter, after winter, and during the season. We spend a lot of money on making sure that those lots are nice, and they're not always perfect, but there's a lot of sand down there. But I know Parks and Rec works their tails off with that sweeping machine, because I see them down there constantly getting that stuff out of the parking lot. And I think it's only fair that the residents pay substantially less, and theirs becomes a yearly pass versus tourists that become a day pass. But again, that's not what we're talking about for the pilot program. We're just trying to see if this thing is actually going to work. And how is it going to impact traffic? How is it going to impact the neighborhoods? And we can sit here and we can speculate through that all day long. Is it going to impact the neighborhoods? Possibly. Do we know that for sure? Of course not, because we didn't try it. If we take 10 days, 15 days to try this, we'll actually have some data to say, yes, it impacted the adjacent streets, or it didn't. Did it earn us some money, or didn't it? We can get all the pros and cons that we need by trying it just for a couple days throughout this summer. And for that, I think I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, I think it's worth a shot, because I've heard from enough people that wanted us to charge tourists to use the beach, and there's no other true way to really do it that I can think of. So this is a good starting point.
Mark, go ahead.
I agree with a lot that Adam said, but what I'm opposed to is I want to test something and realize there'll be challenges to determine if it's a smart thing to do or not. So we're going to test how we're going to evaluate the parking impact. Are we going to have people? How are we going to evaluate the cars coming through? Where are they from? Let's define how we're going to capture the data we need to see whether or not it's successful or not. And then I also am concerned about how we're going to determine the cost inbound, and if there's a spot available, then the complications of how you're going to refund the money on the spot and determine the same guy who just came in.
The first part of that will be a proposal in your budget. So we are looking at flock cameras. And so these are something the police department already uses. Our county police department, they're kind of throughout Manitowoc County. We are exploring the opportunity to have flock cameras at the beginning and end of the Zlotnick one-way. And so that would actually give us quantities of cars going through, and it would give you Wisconsin or non-state residents tell you if it was from in-state or out of state, those cars that come through the Zlotnick passage. So you would have some data from that. You wouldn't have this year's data to compare it, but you would have other days of the summer to compare it to that are not.
I wouldn't provide information for that immediate car who came in, didn't find a spot and left.
Yeah, that one's gonna probably have to be up to I'm making a thought on this on the fly, that the attendant's probably gonna have to make a judgment call if they refund that person because they saw them come right back out.
I mean, at some point you can implement a clicker. You got so many spots in that parking lot. You click it that many times, you click the next one for those that come out, and the lot's either open or it's closed. I mean, they do it other places. They close lots when it's full.
Yeah.
You close this lot when it's full.
The staffing plan is to have, if you're running 2 lots and you had 3 people staffing, one would be on each parking lot and the other one could spell people with breaks and lunches. And then also they could be checking the lot to see how full they are and reporting to the person.
I'm saying it's a reality. If we want to test something, let's plan for it ahead of time. If it's a reality, it's going to happen. I'm just saying, let's plan for it ahead of time if you want to have a test program.
I don't think we're gonna be reinventing how to park cars and stuff, so. I mean, it's been done a lot, just like Adam said, so. The only thing I'm concerned about is the money, the hidden costs, the people that are gonna get pissed off and not come back. That's the cost that I'm worried about more than anything.
Tim, did you have?
It's a simple day pass. You set it in your windshield. You know how many cars can fit in a lot, in 2 lots, you have that many passes. That way they can go to the store and come back, and it's got the date on it. It's for the day.
Any other questions?
I would just say my plan, the proposed plan that you have in your packet, says that if you leave the lot, you've lost your spot, so you'd have to come back in and pay again. So just so you know, that's how it's written in the proposal right now. So you could change that, of course.
And also, don't forget, it's two lots out of 6 lots. We're not deterring anyone from coming for free or enjoying the beach for the day. You got 70-some parking spots that are on the street on Zlatnik and right in front on the left-hand side. You got the other 4 lots. It's a convenience for the lots that are closest. And I think, in all honesty, I think people that come from outside would be more willing to pay that than try to park on some side street where they don't even know where they're at. I think they would much prefer to park at the beach where they can unload their coolers, their chairs, and their kids and everything else. So, I mean, I think it's 2 out of 6 lots. You still got 70-some parking spots on the street. I don't think we're really deterring a lot of people from enjoying our beach.
So we are looking for a motion of some sort.
I will make a motion to approve the Neshotah Beach Support Paid Parking Pilot Program for 2026 between 10 and 20 days with a report back from our Recreation Director as to what those days are in advance.
Okay. Thank you, Adam.
I'll second that, but I want,
If Adam's okay with that.
and,
Mike, what do you think on the amount of time that you want or need or think you need?
When I had initially threw those budget numbers out, if we turn over those lots once a day, you're hoping that you're gonna have gross revenue of $20,000. If you had to staff all of that time, and not with a community organization, there's still some costs to that. You're right around $4,500 in expenses and staffing time. We would need to buy handheld credit card readers. So you're looking at about $1,000 for those. So at the end of the day, you're hoping to make $14,000 to $15,000. So what is it worth it to all of you? If you buffer yourself a little bit on the credit card costs, if you're going up in days, the staff.
But you could get more return. So I don't necessarily have a preference on the number of days. I've been hearing this as well for many years, and it's actually nice to come up with getting asked for a proposal to council, because for years I've heard it both ways as well. No parking, yes parking, day parking. So it's nice to at least give you a time to put your feet to the fire to make decisions. So that's what I'm going to do. So.
Might say the handheld credit card readers give credit in addition to debt charging too?
Yeah, you can
Credit or debit.
Whether we do 10, 15, 20 days, here's another way to think about it. It's kind of like when you do a survey of people, of the population, you can get, the bigger the sampling size is, the more reliable the information will be. So 10 days would be fine. 15 days, you would get more data. The more days you add on, the more data you get by the end of the season. Just another way to look at it.
Why don't we wait until Mike's had an opportunity to see what days would be the best, and then maybe we'll whittle it down to 12,
I think I know what days would be the best. By the time you get to, if it's a slow warm up to spring, you're not getting warm at Neshotah until mid-June. And so that's probably when you would start paid parking. And then you could go all the way through Labor Day if there's nice weather. The flexibility I would actually really like is to be able to say, this is going to be a 90-degree day and 30 miles inland, and we know we're going to have a big beach crowd because of the weather forecast, and then we go for a big party.
And that's what I mean by advance. I want the residents to know in advance. So I'm not saying that come May, you need to know the dates. I think you should be able to be flexible within a 10-day forecast to be able to say, hey, we're going to have paid parking so residents know.
Yeah.
I think that's my flexibility part that I was alluding to. Not that you know, I mean, you could pick 10 days and they could rain all 10 of them. And then we're kind of SOL.
I think having fewer days creates more flexibility because you haven't locked yourself into filling every day unless you're canceling days. I hope that makes sense, but if I had 20 days in the book and say, we're going to do it 20 days, then I would book them on the calendar, and we're rolling, and then we'd have to cancel out those days as we think they're not gonna do well. If we go with 10, then we could move them around more easily where we want them.
I'll change it to 10. Let's move forward.
Okay, so we have a motion for 10 days, and Bill, you still agree 10 days, right?
Yeah.
I can change mine. Okay, council discussion. Anything else? Council
No.
discussion? I'm just to say, I agree with Bill. I worry about the other things that happen with people going out, parking out in the streets, all the stuff that Bill had mentioned too. So I don't know what I'm gonna say yet. So if there's nothing else, we'll do a roll call vote. Amanda?
Darla Leclerc.
Aye.
Mark Bittner. Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Doug Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas.
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister.
No.
Adam Husky.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all for that. On to G, consideration to proceed with the 2026 Neshoda Beach Pavilion investments to upgrade bathroom and kitchen facilities in the amount not to exceed $450,000.
This item,
Any questions?
this item is not a contract award to any company to do anything. At the work session last Monday night, the council reached general consensus to move forward with option 2, major interior renovations for the pavilion. This involves a significant interior renovation to retain the existing footprint of the original building and avoid any demolition. Expand the restroom capacity and add individual changing rooms in the bathroom area. Expand and redesign the concession area for more diverse menu options, including a commercial range with a hood system and a fryer. Create conditions that would allow for a future operator, possibly from the private sector or a local restaurant, to manage the concession stand if that is a direction city council wants. The existing estimate reached for renovation costs is $360,000. That's what was talked about at the council work session, but this did not include the good ideas that bubbled up from the community during that work session about converting the picnic table space in the back into an enhanced area with roll-up garage doors or screens. So that will add some cost to the project. And since this won't be out for competitive bidding until next year, we know things are going to cost more in spring of 2026 compared to summer of 2025. So that is why this agenda item is phrased not to exceed $450,000. If the city council wants to pursue this approach, staff will spend the winter refining construction plans, going after a funding package for grant funding and community contributions. And then this would appear again on a city council agenda in the future after all this is put together, after competitive bidding is completed next year. So nobody's rushing this, and there's a lot of information left to gather. But we wanted direction from you on which way to go, and it kind of seemed like you were saying option 2 last Monday night. So we just wanted to form that up.
Any questions for our city manager? Yes, Mark.
I talked to you earlier about this, Kyle, but I want to make sure that as we review this project overview has line items in it that will give us the cost of each potential addition so that we can pick and choose. If we don't want to do an online overhead assembly for the kitchen, we can pull that out. If we want to do 1 toilet instead of 7, we can pull that out. I want to make sure that we can really intelligently use this to maximize its efficiency and minimize our costs for our taxpayers.
We will be very transparent with it. It will look like what's in your packet tonight for the project that was already approved for the bathrooms by the Horseshoe. It'll lay out all the base bid, the different add-on options. Mike.
That you have an itemized estimate from Hammond Construction, which was very kind of them to provide that estimate for us, even though they're not bidding.
I don't think your mic's on, Mike. Sorry.
Is that muted up there?
How about now? You did receive an itemized estimate from Hammond for $360,000 that has a lot of detail about what the renovation project would entail. It does not provide even more incremental or smaller versions of a renovation, to Mark's point. It does give you, that's new direction. So if you wanted other smaller versions of renovation and how to a la carte those improvements, yeah, that's going to take an extensive, that's a lot more work, and we haven't received that direction. So what you have right now is a 360, hopefully quite a good estimate by a reliable construction company to give you a full package for the renovation of the interior of the concession stand and the restrooms.
Yes, Adam.
Just a couple of things I want to touch on, just from some of the comments made earlier, just to clarify. The renderings that we got were budgeted with last year's budget, which was about 1 year ago. And the overall adoption to possibly do this was brought forth in 2023, and then the Shoto Park Master Plan. Now, going back to that thinking and the reasoning why it was done is we knew something had to be done with that concession stand building. And I think if we didn't get some kind of renderings as to what it would cost to build brand new, and we just assumed that it would be cheaper to renovate, we would sell ourselves short. And what I mean by that is sometimes you could renovate something and it can cost $500,000 and you can build it new for $700,000. But if you don't explore that option, you don't know how close that budget could be. In this case, it was 1.9. It wasn't even close. But again, we don't know that until we look into it. And the last thing that I would ever want to do is update a building, renovate a building that's 50, 60 years old at 500,000, and then we could have built it for 600,000. We could have totally rebuilt it. Again, that's not the case, but we didn't know that going into this. So I think that's a lot of the reasons why we said, hey, we need to get renderings. We need to see what this is actually going to cost. So we're getting the best bang for our buck. Also, I don't remember any 24-hour operation. I know our parks close at 11. Our bathrooms shut down as well. So I know someone brought up 24-hour operation. That was never the case. That was never going to be the case going forward. It was always going to stay as is. It never had 24-hour operation in it, nor do any of our parks. The last thing is bathrooms do need some reworking. They are old. The infrastructure in them are old. We need additional toilets. We do see a lot of lines, especially on busy days, those warm days, your 4th of July, and other days when there's big lines out there. And it does become a problem. We have the capacity within the building to be able to rework that and add additional toilets with the old shower and changing areas that are no longer used. They're just kind of sitting there because they're, again, not a real good changing area, but probably back in 1970, it was adequate. This day and age, it's not really adequate. And again, it's an old building that really never got renovated besides a roof and maybe a hot water heater. We didn't really do a whole lot to those buildings since they've been built. So I am in support of taking a look to see what it would take to renovate those bathrooms and to add additional restrooms within those areas, and also supportive of redoing the concession stand to get it up to code. I don't like the idea of putting any kind of a restaurant in there of any sort or buying that equipment. I think what we sell in there now is adequate and what people expect: drinks, ice cream, snacky stuff, whether pretzels, nachos, popcorn, stuff like that. And I would like to at least take a look and see what it would cost to do something to the back area. And I think there are groups that come down there and use it. I know I addressed the hog rally for sure, because I remember that was a big complaint of theirs. When they came in here and spent oodles of money, not only was it tourism, but it was local people too that were a part of that, that they had no place to really be enclosed to do signups and registrations, so on and so forth with that. I think the majority, and Mike could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the majority of our pavilion rentals are local people that use the pavilion in back. And I think a lot of people would be supportive of having a graduation party that doesn't really get rained out, with the ability to have that locked in, or maybe not even a graduation party. It could be an anniversary party, could be a birthday party, you name it. But I know our shelters are heavily rented, And I think this is just another added feature that might go over fairly good, depending on the cost.
Thank you, Adam. Any other questions? Yes, Mark.
Mike, what I'm saying is that what we want a menu, overview of the project. Hammond did provide a very specific breakdown for that restroom. The other gentleman you quoted, the RFP, request for proposals. The second builder, Elite Builder, didn't provide a breakdown. They gave you a general number.
Elite didn't provide us anything for the bathhouse. Elite gave us an estimate for the horseshoe pit bathroom that we took the bid on. So Elite did
You're
not.
gonna get multiple bids, right, from this project?
Yeah, someday if we
So
go to
make
bid.
sure that the multiple bids realize that we want a precise breakdown of the ingredients of what's gonna go in there, so we can pick and choose from their menus they're offering.
That's how we write the RFPs, telling them to do that, so.
I want to minimize spending money, but I want to maximize efficiency. I want to change the look of the building now, but I want to make it as suitable for our citizens as possible.
Doug, do you have something? Or no, I'm sorry, was it Bonnie?
No.
Okay.
I was thinking, but.
Go ahead, Bonnie.
I don't have so much a question, but I have or sort of a comment. A former city council person called me, and he was on, I don't know, 10 years ago, and he thought, I can't explain it very well, but having to do with the infrastructure, the plumbing, and he thought that might be in very bad shape, but he wasn't sure. I guess I would like that checked out first if it was up to me, just because you never know what that's going to cost. And somebody else brought something up to me about if you're going to have deep fryers and oil and things like that, is that going to, well, maybe I do have a question. Is that going to increase our insurance? Does any of this improvement affect the insurance? Do you know?
In terms of the plumbing question, non-question, this estimate includes redoing all of the plumbing. And we're confident that there is a 4-inch service going to the building, so it's adequate for an expanded use of the facility and more water consumption if needed. So the insurance question, I'm sure they would have to insure the building for more than what it's now if there's worth more. So sure, yes, possibly there could be more insurance costs because the building's worth more.
Okay, this person was saying that if you work around oil, is it a more potential injury in the kitchen part? Who actually covers that? If somebody gets hurt in the building or in the concession
Yeah, if they're
stand?
working for the city, if they're city employees, they would be our responsibility. I really don't envision a situation where city employees would be running that type of equipment. Any of the scenarios that we've proposed, city employees would continue to run a concession stand very similar to what we're doing now, maybe a few improvements with some fresh items. But it would likely have to be a vendor or concessionaire that would want to do that type of thing. And I would assume that they would take on the liability for their employees.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mike? Yes, Mark.
One more comment. I don't want to forget, somebody out in the audience suggested that we do something to help assist our local businesses, service the beach with food. And I think we ought to revisit that and maybe have a parking spot, a menu assistance or something, because the business of our city council isn't to promote a business to service visitors. We should encourage our visitors to utilize our existing businesses in town and make it favorable for that. So I think we ought to consider that.
To that point, Mark, with the current package of improvements that's going on this year, that's 50-50 grant funding. We are in the process of doing a strategic plan and reducing ideally, but, and also optimizing all of the signage in Neshota Park and Beach. We brought together a committee just the other day to kick that initiative off. We had Jason Ring from Main Street. We had, Teresa Cronfrost from Schrader's. We had representation from the Hamilton Wood Type Museum and the Historical Society as well. And I'm forgetting one other person that was related to downtown. So there is a lot of local and Main Street downtown impact on how we are going to structure and plan for the signage in Neshota Park. We have a solid chunk of money in this year's budget with that strategic sign plan to make those improvements. I would expect that those improvements will be in the ground before Memorial Day of next year. So very much heard that point, and that's a part of the initiative right now going on with the signage project.
Said that, thank you.
Yes, Adam.
Sorry, just one more time. So I'm going to vote in favor of this, and I just want people to know that this is a vote for staff to get the information together. It is a vote to say, hey, staff, go investigate this, bring back some plans, and put it out to bid so we can get cost estimates. And then it's going to come back before us, and it's going to come back at, hey, this is what it's actually going to cost to do these things. And that's when we're actually going to say yes or no. We're going to go and say, hey, Mike, these plans are great, but they're too expensive. Mike, these plans are great. They're right on what we think it's worth. This is what the public wants. This is what the public doesn't want. And again, we're not going to know that till we get plans drawn up and be able to look at this and see how we can better improve the restrooms, the concession, the pavilion right behind it. We're not going to know, again, how much that's actually going to cost and what that's actually going to look like if we don't give staff to go ahead to say, hey, go investigate. Come back and show us what this is going to cost, what this is going to look like, and let the residents of Two Rivers see it and let them make a decision. I mean, people got our contact information, which is great. We got a lot of emails, and I'm sure once this comes back and staff re-gets plans and budget numbers, we'll hear from you again, as we should. You know, that's what we're here to do. You'll see that. You'll contact us and say, great idea, bad idea. But again, we don't know until we allow them to move forward. He can't move forward if we don't say, hey, go ahead and let's investigate this.
We move forward with those plans and those prices we get from these builders. We may not take all of it. We may take parts of it. Just the things that we think will benefit the community most to minimize expenses.
Any other questions for Mike?
I'm sorry, I can't show.
Go ahead.
We also have, there are multiple leads on major grant opportunities that we already have, and I wouldn't want to waste the time going after those grant opportunities and pursuing those right now if we didn't have your direction, because they're pretty big lifts in terms of the time and effort it would go into pursuing those grants.
Yeah, you are the master of grant funding. A lot of money comes. Yes, Tim.
I'd just like to say, it's got plenty of electrical service there. I asked what was out there, where I think it's a great idea, except the commercial kitchen put in there. If someone wants to, if we're renting it to a vendor, they can put their own equipment in there. We've got the electricity to hook up for them to do it. It kind of seems a lot of money put in there.
And we were just trying to show the possibilities, the options of what the facility could be used for, because we have, and I think all of you have heard this feedback, is that there's many people saying it should be rented out by a private concessionaire, a private entity that's running that. And others are saying, no, it just needs to be a snack shack like we have. So we were trying to walk the middle line there and trying to show options of what it could be for you to make a decision on.
With that, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve city staff to proceed with Neshota Beach Pavilion upgrades not to exceed $450,000, with plans and costs to be provided before to both council and public, along with any grant opportunities to reduce that cost before anything gets kicked into motion.
Thank you, Bonnie. Council discussion. Anything else? Do you have
Yeah,
that? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, as far as the commercial kitchen is concerned, the important thing right now is readjusting the space that's wasted now and making that possible. Maybe we don't put the equipment in right away, maybe that's later on, maybe that's a private company, but the important thing is to get the walls realigned to get the space so it's usable. It's the Band-Aid, $43,000 Band-Aid, I mean, we lose all that ability. And it's really almost wasted money. Decided to go 10 years from now.
Anyone else? I'll just agree with what Mark and Adam had said. I don't think we need the Taj Mahal. We don't need,
I didn't say Taj Mahal. Please
Well-
don't say, I did not say Taj Mahal.
okay, not getting the Taj Mahal. We don't need the biggest and the best.
We
we
existing
don't-
building's fine. It looks
Yes,
great.
correct. Yes, you're correct. Yeah, I think we just need to keep what we have there. And just remodel it for as less cost as possible. We've had a lot of comments from people, letting us know what they feel and what they think. And I appreciate that. I know we all appreciate that. And I think the most important part is just getting it up to code. The changing areas, the restroom, I think that's the best thing to do at this point. But we'll see what Mike has in store. And like Adam said, this isn't something, we're not agreeing to purchase anything. We're not going to put out bids or anything. We're just getting a time now for staff to start looking into it. So just want to make sure that was all clear. Anyone else? If not, we will do a roll call vote. Amanda?
Mark Bittner,
Yes.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc. Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you all for that. On to number 12, the city manager's report.
I have talking a lot tonight, and I'm going to say no report tonight. Thank you.
Okay. For information only, we have a city council regular meeting for Monday, October 20th, 2025 at 6:00 PM. And then also we have a city council work session for Monday, October 27th, 2025 at 6:00 PM. Tonight, we are going into closed session. The city council does reserve the right to enter into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Tonight, we have three things. We have a discussed possible lease of city-owned real estate, consideration of employment, promotion, pay, or performance of a public employee, and schedule hearing for code of conduct. With that, I'm looking for a motion to go
Real
into
quick,
closed. Yes.
do we have to identify that then as 1C as well, Mr. Lawyer? Because we are going to two different parts of closed session. One is for deliberation of property and one is for personnel issues, so it should be described as both.
Yes.
So we need to have in there that as well. So if you just want to put 1C, 1985, 1C as well. So we're going into closed session for the right statutes. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, 1C. I was like, one, what are you
One-
talking?
E
Okay,
and
gotcha.
C, correct.
Yep, sir, for Wisconsin statutes 19.851 E and C. Thank you, Adam.
I would just say 19.851 in general.
Fair.
Going forward.
Oh, okay, for next time.
Yeah,
Okay.
just in general.
So we're looking for a motion to go into closed.
Make a motion to go into closed
Thank
session.
you, Bill. Second by Darla. Council
You can have
discussion. See none. All in favor indicate, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
roll
roll
call.
call. Sorry, one night. Roll call.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt, Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas. Aye. Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc.
Aye.
Mark Bittner. We are enclosed.